Say, if you're a person that reads a lot, and you believe you read a lot of mysteries and a lot of adventurous stories, read the Psalms in the Bible. Get you a couple of 3 good Bibles. I got about 6 out here. And they all, different people have different connotations. They all say the same thing, but they say it in many different words. In other words, I can take 12 words of positive writing here and have 112 words of explanation by different people of what these 12 words are saying. Deliver me from mine enemies, O my God. Defend me from them who rise up against me. Now, if we were to make a list of those who were against David, starting with Ahithophel, and come on down through, we would have a list of 100 or so people that were actually out fighting against David, looking for him, out to kill him, because of the orders of one man. And see, the occasion of this psalm is found in 1 Samuel chapter 19, when Saul tried to apprehend David in order to kill him. And you see, if you'll go over there and take that chapter over there, and where Saul was trying to kill him in 1 Samuel, that's the 2nd chapter of a good story. This psalm is very similar to the previous psalm, portraying David being delivered from the murderous hatred of his encircling enemies. It also typifies the deliverance of the Messiah from the accurate hated religious leaders of Israel, as they tried to kill him before his time in order to prevent Calvary. Everything you read in the Old Testament links to the New Testament. How can that be, Brother Peter? Because it's written by inspiration of God. And God knew the end before the beginning. He could have wrote the end of Revelations and wrote backwards to the beginning of the Bible, because he knows everything that's going to happen, and does happen and did happen. It also typifies the deliverance of Israel from the Antichrist during the latter half of the Great Tribulation and at the Battle of Armageddon. So here's something happening 4,000 years before the happening again is going to be in that Great Tribulation. But God is showing it to us over here in Psalm 59. And it also typifies the deliverance of Israel from the Antichrist during the latter half of the Great Tribulation and at the Battle of Armageddon. There is a 3.5 period years of tribulation. And the second half of those, Israel is going to be delivered. Deliver me from the workers of iniquity, and save me from the bloody men. For lo, they lie in wait for my soul. The mighty are gathered against me, not for my transgressions, and not for my sin, O Lord. Saul is attempting here to kill David, not because of any transgression or any sin against Saul, but because of Saul's great evil. It does not mean that David had never sinned. It simply means that Saul's anger with him was not because of any sin or transgression against him on David's part, as well as Israel hated Christ, not because of any transgression, because he had none, or any sin, he had none, or any of his part, because of their own transgression and sin is why they wanted to kill him, because they were convicted. So they run and prepare themselves without my fault. Awake to help me, and behold, it seems to David that the Lord was asleep. But of course that was incorrect. The Lord was watching over David momentarily, even as he watched over every single one of his children. Wow. I love that verse 4. God is watching over you and I, who are his children, now. You therefore, O Lord God of hosts, the God of Israel, awake to visit all the heathen. Be not merciful to any wicked transgressors. Selah. The heathen refers to the nations which will surround Jerusalem during the Battle of Armageddon. This prophecy relates to the last hours of that time. Verses 13 and 16 point to this fact. The believing remnant of Israel is pictured as shut up in Jerusalem by the nations and by certain wicked transgressors. The Messiah, his Spirit, takes his place in their midst, cheers them with assurance of deliverance, and prays for the destruction of their besiegers. Judgment, consequently, is in the keytone of the Psalms, keynotes. They return at evening, and they make a noise like a dog, and go around about the city. This refers to the Antichrist and his armies attempting to take Jerusalem. In fact, half of the city will fall to the Antichrist, which will take place immediately before the second coming. Zechariah 14:2 and 3. You say, Brother Peter, you're in verse 6 of chapter 59 of a Psalm. How can you get this forward thing out? How can you pick that out? Because I'm studying behind some good men that do some research that I don't have to do, and I can go follow what they said and see it's a fact. It's true. Behold, they belch out with their mouth. Swords are in their lips. For who say they doeth hear? At this time Israel will cry to God for deliverance, because they realize that now the Messiah is their only hope, and the Antichrist will torrent their appeal. But you, O Lord, shall laugh at them. You shall have all of the heathen in derision. Hey, the Lord's disdain for the Antichrist is referred to with the brief comment, laugh at them. Wow. Because of his strength will I wait upon you, for God is my defense. As David says these words, so will Israel at that coming time. The God of my mercy shall prevent me. God shall let me see my desire upon mine enemies. This was fulfilled in David's life. It will have a greater fulfillment regarding Israel in the last days. At the time of their writing, 2004, most of the world could be constituted as an enemy of Israel. No matter, Israel will ultimately prevail because she will cry to the Lord. Lord, and he will come to her rescue. It is the second coming. Slay them not, lest my people forget. Scatter them by your power, and bring them down, O Lord, our shield. In other words, David's prayer is that the Lord will defeat the enemy in such a fashion that all will know that it was the Lord who did such. To be sure, this is exactly what will happen at the Battle of Armageddon. For the sin of their mouth and the words of their lips, let them even be taken into their pride, and for cursing and lying which they speak. It should be noticed that the sin of the three Saul, the righteous leaders of Israel, and the Antichrist is pride. Consume them in wrath. Consume them that they may be not. And let them know that God rules in Jacob under the ends of the earth. Selah. God doesn't rule in Jacob presently. However, that is going to change in the not too distant future. As an aside, it doesn't say that God rules in Muhammad. No, it doesn't say that, etiquette. And it even let them return and let them make noise like a dog and go round about the city. These verses are very similar to verse 6. Let them wander up and down for meat, and grudge if they be not satisfied. This verse speaks of the near victory by the Antichrist over Jerusalem. Even though some, 2/3 of Israel, will have already been destroyed, Zechariah 13:8, still the Antichrist will grudge and be not satisfied until all Israel is destroyed. He will be surely displeased and disappointed. But I will sing of your power, yea, I will sing aloud of your mercy in the morning. For you have been my defense and refuge in the day of my trouble. Prophetically, this speaks of the day of Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah 30:7. Despite the power of the Antichrist, the power of the Lord will be much greater. Therefore, David, as well as the Messiah, will sing as such. Unto you, O my strength, will I sing, for God is my defense and the God of my mercy. This is a beautiful passage. This is a singing God's strength, singing the defense, which he gives not only to Israel, but to all who love him and proclaim his name. Wow. That's the end of 59. What a bunch of good words in a little bitty chapter.